Ahead of this month's Global Education Summit in London, I'm really pleased to be joined by a member of our Cambridge Partnership for Education Advisory Board, Charles Clarke, to discuss developing education systems better fit for all learners. We're going through a period of intense disruption at the moment for all of society from COVID, not just education, and this definitely presents an opportunity for real change, but there is also the risk of decisions being made that aren't properly underpinned by research and evidence because of the need to act urgently. So as leaders from across the world come together to pledge support for education transformation, it's really important that we unpack how best to design and deliver education systems that provide change for all society and benefit for all learners. So to discuss this further, I'm really pleased to be here with Charles. Charles Clarke is a consultant for Cambridge Partnership for Education and part of our advisory board. He was former Secretary of State for the UK for education. And Charles, you've worked in international education all around the world, working on reform projects. And as such, you're quite often leading these conversations around how to reform education systems to ensure their resilience. So in your view, what are the three key things that it's important to keep in mind when trying to achieve change at system level?
I think the most important of all, Jane, is a genuine commitment from the centre of the government, whether it's the government itself or the various institutions, to creating an education system which is going to serve the needs of the pupils. So you're not simply going in and saying it's always been done like that, or not simply saying let's bring in a clever little idea like that. You're saying from the outset we're determined to make change happen in the interests of people who are trying to learn, pupils and students trying to learn. So that takes you to the second point, which is actually to ask the question, is the school system, is the curriculum, are the teachers working in the interests of really improving the educational performance of every child? And to do that, you have to measure how children are doing. And you have to say, frankly speaking, are children advancing as you'd hope they? How are they doing compared with other pupils in similar positions? And then what do you need in order to enable better? And of course, the third point is that teachers are absolutely central to this. You don't meet anybody who doesn't identify the role of their teachers as absolutely central to their future success. So teachers have to be motivated to do that. Teachers have to be challenged about whether their teaching methods and styles are in fact helping all children and are driving it forward in a way. And there's no room for complacency about this. Just because it's always been done like this doesn't mean it always has to continue being done like this. So my 3 points, Jane, it's difficult to pick through, but I think they do select themselves. Total, unconditional commitment to improvement, irrespective of any vested interests, any other concerns, from the leadership of government, from the leadership of the education system. Second, putting the educational needs of children and young people first, rigorously measuring, seeing how they're doing. And thirdly, supporting teachers to be able to help that to happen.
Thanks, Charles. There was a Global Partnership for Education board meeting recently where countries made a very strong statement around change, and they said the system needs to be transformed, not tweaked. And the world needs bold actions, not more of the same, so that we can create strong education systems that can achieve outcomes at scale for the benefit of everyone. So what kind of radical changes do you think we could make happen today? And what foundations can we set in motion to make changes happen over the next 5 years? And who needs to be part of that change?
All the stakeholders have to be part, but I put as number one the teachers, and in particular the head teachers of the schools themselves. If the head teacher of a school and the teaching leaders within a school are not committed to change, it will never happen. It doesn't matter what statements are made by politicians like I was. It doesn't matter what government policy documents are produced. If the teachers themselves are not really working to achieve change in their school for their children, it's very difficult to make things happen. So the first thing I think is to make sure teachers are on side with what you're doing. That's not at all straightforward. In different countries, there's different statuses for teachers. Some countries give a very high status for teachers, others not paid enough, not given the proper status, and so on. But without a properly powerful teaching profession, it's very difficult to make progress. The second thing, I think, is not to believe that how it was done is how it should be done. And that's what that statement you read out really is about. It's saying you can't just assume because you've always done it like that, that meets the challenges of the future. The reasons for that are obvious. It's that everything is changing. The techniques that make economies work today are not the techniques that made economies work 20 years ago, and are not going to be the techniques which make economies work 20 years into the future. So you've got to say, what are those techniques? What are the skills, abilities, talents that children will need in order to create and build their societies in whatever way they need to deal with? And that takes me to my final uniting point, really, which is we live in an unbelievably fast changing world. It's been accelerating change. It's not, thank goodness we've had the change, we'll now go back to normal. It's not that, it continues to change. Education is the means by which we control that change and make it happen in our interests and is not done to us. So if young children today at school want to ensure they can empower themselves to benefit from change in the future, they need an education which will equip them to do that. And that requires the kind of forward-looking approach which that statement that you read out highlighted.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts with us, Charles, and I look forward to continuing the discussion with you.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.